Welcome back to the channel. Got a Blu Ray update I've been putting off, and it's time to do it because I've got a lot of stuff to show. I'm only going to get to about 10 things today, including the Shaw Brothers box set, and then I've got more stacks after that, but I'm going to try to keep this at 30 minutes. Alright, let's get started. First thing up is the Species box set, which I'm not a huge fan of these films, but honestly, I haven't seen them in so long that I need to go ahead and give it a revisit. This has got all four films. This is from, I believe it's from '88. Yeah, it's an import from '88 films. It's got all four films, and it looks like all the films have audio commentary. It's a nice box set. Uh, I'm gonna watch these for the October Horror Challenge, and then I'll give you my impressions of each film when we do it at that point. But I haven't even opened it yet, which is unusual for me. I usually don't go through these updates without watching the movie and the features. But in this case, we're going to put this one aside and come back to it in October. All right, next up. And by the way, Roger Donaldson, who directed Species, um, he did Dante's Peak and The Bank Job. He's done a bunch of what looks like more like drama action movies. But we'll give it a shot. It's been so long. I remember I was kind of like on the fence about it. It was not bad, not particularly memorable either. But I mean, they made four of them, so we'll see. All right, next up, this is a Scream Factory release, and I think this was one of those that you had to order from their site. I can't remember, but that's Daughters of Satan, 1972, directed by Hollingsworth Morse, who hasn't done. I mean, his filmography is not particularly good. I mean, he looks like he's done some 1950s sci-fi, Crash of the Moons. Uh, yeah, he did H.R. Puffin stuff, kids Rocky Jones Space Ranger movies, and anyway, this is a TV movie with Tom Selleck, and basically Tom Selleck is married to this woman that's starting to act very strange, and the bottom line is she's a witch. So, and it's a slow burn, but it's an interesting film. But it's made for TV, and it's as far as a payoff, it's nothing. It's very tepid, I guess is what I should say. I gave it a, let me check my ratings here. 6 out of 10. Pretty tame stuff. It's devoid of all tension, this release has zero special features. It's just the movie. I don't even think it had a trailer, if I recall. Anyway, that's Daughters of Satan. Next up, it's been so long since I've watched these movies. It's taken me a minute to remember what the heck I was even looking at. All right, next up is The Falling, which is also Alien Predators. That's the title on the cover. Directed by Darren Serafin. And Darren Serafin has done He did Death Warrant with Jean Claude Van Damme, and a bunch of other kind of B grade action films. Uh, this has an interesting premise. You got three friends who are on vacation in Spain, and a scientist joins forces with them to save them and the rest of the world from an alien menace. It sounds good. It's got Dennis Christopher in it, but unfortunately, it's very tepid. It's along the line. It's a poor man's invasion of the body snatchers, the best way to describe it. And it's got some lame attempts at humor, which didn't resonate with me at all. It does have an audio commentary with the director Darren Serafin, which was not particularly memorable. Yeah, this is one of those that I think if you're a collector of Scream Factory, you probably that's the only reason to buy it. All right, next up we've got A Quiet Place in the Country, directed by Elio Petri, and this stars Franco Nero and Vanessa Redgrave. What a nice pairing! And apparently, Franco Nero was not impressed with Vanessa Redgrave, and when they were getting ready to be paired up for this movie, she invited him to his house, and he had a whole different change of opinion of her after he visited her at her house. Who knows what went on there to change his opinion, but we won't get into that. But Franco Nero and Vanessa Redgrave are excellent in this. Franco Nero plays this painter who's he's basically having some psychotic episodes. And he's having these creative blocks, so he arranges to spend the weekend in this villa. And but that doesn't help. It's just a slow disintegration of his sanity. Very, very interesting psychological study. It's strange. It's a psychological thriller. He's starting to have like ghostly mental images of murders and things, and the lines between reality and fantasy are very blurred in this one. It's really left to the viewer to kind of interpret this, what's real and what isn't, and I'm okay with that. I like it, but this may not be for everybody. I give it a 7 out of 10. This has an audio commentary with Tracy Horwath, Horwath, I think. Troy Horwath, sorry. And then an interview with Franco Nero. Good stuff, and a trailer. Good stuff. Next up, we've got a film that I think kind of gets lambasted by people. I don't know why. The Ninth Gate, Roman Polanski's film. I loved it. I think it's a great, great satanic worship movie. Frank Langella is fantastic in this as this book collector, and he's paying all expenses for Johnny Depp to go out and find this rare copy of the Nine Gates of the Kingdom of Shadows book. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. It doesn't sound interesting. It sounds more like watching the C-SPAN channel or balancing your bank statement at the end of the month. But I don't know. It resonated with me. I really enjoyed it. I thought the acting was fantastic. It's got a great ending. It's a bit long, at 2 hours and 15 minutes, but it's an immersive film that I've thoroughly enjoyed. It's got a commentary with the director, which was great. It's got featurettes, storyboards, good stuff. Highly recommend Ninth Gate. Let's see if we got no internal artwork, and we got the Echo case, which sucks. This is, of course, well, it's Lionsgate. I shouldn't even have to check it. As soon as it said Lionsgate, I should have known it was a damn Echo case. Next up is another Scream Factory release, Watchers 2, directed by Thierry Knotts. And Thierry has done The Terror Within. That was the main movie that I remember that he did. Mark Singer is in this, and Mary Warnoff is in this. Basically, you got a genetically engineered dog that has psychic connections, and basically this dog is chasing down this monster that was created in a lab, and the monster breaks free. If you like monster movies, this is going to be up your alley. I liked it. It's the same plot as the first film, but with more it's more monster. You get more monster in this. I think it's a bit more entertaining than the first film. I give it a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it. No special features. Again, this was another release that you had to order from Scream Factory's website. It does have alternate artwork. But I enjoyed Watchers 2 more than I did Watchers 1. Alright. Next up. I mean, Warren Oates, man. I love Warren Oates. And I love The Cockfighter. Cancel culture doesn't like the cockfighter. I can't believe they haven't come after this film yet. This is a film all about the rooster fighting, which was and I think is a big thing still in the deep South down here in Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama. I still think it goes on. I've heard about it. Uh, Brutal sport, definitely should be banned, but this is a fantastic film. Warren Oates in this, Harry Dean Stanton. Uh, Warren Oates is just fantastic. He didn't have to say anything, and he says very little in this. Uh, but it's just a great movie. One that I'm afraid, if eventually that cancel culture will catch up to it. And this is another Scream Factory. This is actually Shout Factory release. Definitely check out, if you like Warren Oates, you got to check out Cockfighter. Monty Hellman directed it, and Monty Hellman. I mean, he's done The Terror with Boris Karloff. Done a bunch of good stuff. Beast from the Haunted Cave. He actually did the Greatest Muhammad Ali film. So he's done a bunch of interesting films. Next up is a film that I've watched as a kid. This film would come on Saturday afternoon matinees and late night chiller thrill theater. But these are the kind of movies I was raised on. That's Blood of the Vampire, 1958. Donald Wolfett, who plays this creepy mad scientist, Dr. Callistratus, and he's operating a prison, and he's using patients to experiment to try to correct his quote unquote blood disease. Great movie. Barbara Shelley's in it. Love it. 7 out of 10. Gothic. It's just a gothic film that's right. I mean, it's not a Hammer film, but it's definitely got a lot of Hammer tropes. And it was written by Jimmy Sangster, so there you go. 7 out of 10. Another film I grew up with, Dr. Blood's Coffin from 1961, directed by Sidney Furie. And Sidney Furie did the Superman 4, Ipcris File, which was an excellent movie. He's done a number of interesting films. This has got Hazel Court, who's a Hammer regular. You've got a Dr. Blood. Of course, his name is Blood, right? Peter Blood. And he's set up a research center and a lab in a secluded cave, and there he attempts to revive the dead using kidnapped humans. It's a Frankenstein. It's a variation of Frankenstein film. It's actually pretty tame, to be honest. You don't really get any real action to the last 15 minutes. I give it a 6 out of 10. It's one that I grew up with, but if you didn't grow up with this, it's not gonna play well. I don't think with modern audiences. This has no special features either, which is a shame. Okay, next up. Actually, it's the last one of the individual releases. Meat Cleaver Massacre. The only reason I bought it is, again, it's Shout Scream Factory is doing that deal where they're releasing certain films only off their website, and once they're gone, they're gone. It's a money scam, obviously. But I've been roped in. This is a terrible movie. I watched it multiple times, and it doesn't get better. Super lame, boring. I was expecting this to be kind of like a proto-slasher since it was 1977, but the title's really misleading. It's a supernatural revenge flick about a spirit that takes revenge on his daughter's killers. The camera work is horrendous. It's a real chore to get through. I give it a 3 out of 10. Christopher Lee is embarrassingly in the first 3 to 5 minutes, and he's it's just a way to have a named guy in this film, uh, but he doesn't really do anything other than kind of intro this interesting story about uh, cults and things like that. But it has nothing to do with the movie. I mean, it's nothing to do with it. There's no special features on this. I would say again, this is one that if you're a Screen Factory collector or completionist, go ahead and get it. But if not, I would definitely pass. All right, and then next up is the monstrous Shaw Brothers box, which I did go through all of it. 12 films. And I'll tell you, this is a box. This is it. I'm a martial arts fan sometimes. I have to be in the mood for it. I'm not one of the. It's not like horror where I can just, if it's a horror movie, any horror movie, I'll just put it on and watch it. I have to kind of be in the mood for martial arts. It's the whole stylized, choreographed actions, fight sequences. I don't. To me, it gets old pretty quick. But I did go through this set, and I highly recommend this set. There's not a bad film in this set. Um, Great. There's a really nice book that came with. It goes into kind of gives you an overview of each film. But I did watch all the films. It is packed with special features. Many of them had audio commentaries. Uh, I'll tell you what my rankings are, just to kind of cut to the chase here. Five Fingers of Death is probably my favorite of the films. It's about a young boxer who joins they all join a martial arts school, right? And over time, he becomes so powerful that when he gets ready to use his martial arts skills, his hands turn bright red. It's got some great gore and great kills in it. I'm telling you, man, it's awesome, awesome. And this is actually the alternate title was King Boxer, which really apparently this is the film. King Boxer was the one that started the whole martial arts explosion, and I can see why. It's a great film. I gave it a 7 out of 10. Almost everything in here is a 7 out of 10. They're all solid, solid, solid films. Um, and that's the King Boxer, which has an audio commentary and a whole slew of interviews. Next up, Boxer from Shantung. It's kind of funny, and my rankings are almost in the order of these films. This is disc 2, Boxer from Shantung. And I gave this a 7 out of 10. Although I like the first one better, even though the ratings are the same, I still think that at the end of the day, King Boxer is the best of the set. Boxer from Shantung, uh, it's another situation where a guy is brought into this world of corruption and gang warfare, and his only way to protect himself is his fighting techniques. He gets caught between two gangs that are trying to control territory. It's good fights, got a lot of gore, but again, this one is way too long at 2 hours and 14 minutes. That's why I give it a 7 out of 10. But I mean, if you put a gun in my head, I would say King Boxer is really more like a 7.5, 8. If you're comparing just these two films, really, this one doesn't have an audio commentary, but it does have interviews with the stars. Chin Quan Tai, interview with David Chang. David Chang is in so many of these movies. He's a great actor. Five Shaolin Masters and Shaolin Temple. This is a double feature. And both of these from 1974 I gave also a 7 out of 10. Five martial artists band together to perfect their skills and take on a gang that burned their temple. Great action. The film again runs too long, an hour 50 minutes. The final 30 minutes of fighting though is classic stuff. Definitely don't want to miss it. And then the Shaolin Temple is a prequel to Shaolin Masters, which I also thought was excellent. Yeah, I mean, I'm 7 out of 10 on all these. Once again, the running time. A lot of these on the running, a lot of these are at 2 hours is just too long, way too long, man. Mighty Peking Man, I've got it. That is a '88 released. This film, I believe it's '88. I've got that Blu-ray, and it's a fun film. A cheesy King Kong ripoff. It's the guy in the suit looks ridiculous, but it's a lot of fun. It's not great. I give it a 6 out of 10. Uh, you just it's one of those that you have to like kaiju movies to enjoy it. Uh, but that's I'm a sucker for that stuff. It's cheesy. Evelyn Kraft was nice to look at as the female man, as the kind of the female, the Fay Ray of the movie. She was basically in the Mighty Peking Man. She was in a plane crash and was basically raised alongside of the gorilla. Silly stuff. It's fun. Next up's a double feature: Challenge of the Masters and Executioners of Shaolin. Now we're starting to see a bit of a drop off. Challenge of the Masters, I gave this a 6 out of 10. It's kind of a routine, to me it's as a routine Shaw Brothers. You got the obligatory Kung Fu school conflict and a killing that sets off a revenge plot. It's not bad, but it's very routine. Just one of many. And then Executioners of Shaolin, I believe, again, I gave it a 6 out of 10. This time a couple is united to defeat an evil eunuch. It's some pretty racy sex in this, actually, with that. The final battle scene, though, was a complete anticlimax, so I dropped it down to a 6 out of 10. The ending I just didn't particularly care for. This has a film appreciation by Tony Raines, interviews with the stars, no audio commentary. Next up is Chinatown Kid, which I gave a 6 out of 10. This one's fun because it takes from the scenery. It takes us out of uh, South Korea or the Hong Kong area, which was kind of a nice change of pace after you started. If you watch these one after the other, you'll appreciate Chinatown Kid for taking you someplace else. In this case, we get a young martial artist that's involved in a gang war is brought to San Francisco, and the kid takes on a gang trying to dominate Chinatown. But again, uh, 2 hours, the uncut version. Try the 86. I would definitely recommend the 86-minute version. I still give it a 6 out of 10. 5 Venoms, Deadly Venoms, and then Crippled Avengers. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 5 Deadly Venoms I have is a 7 out of 10. Yeah, this this one has this one introduces all these different styles, which I looked it up on the Google to try to figure out if these are real or not. The styles are based on animals like the snake and the spider monkey, and it's silly shit. But and of course some of the styles are for good guys and some are bad guys. It's superhero cartoonishy, but it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I give it a 7 out of 10. Crippled Adventures is one that I also enjoyed. Let's see. Yeah, I gave this a 7 out of 10 too as well. once again, a martial artist master, still bitter from an attack on his wife and child, rules a town with an iron fist and cripples anyone who gets in their way. It's a gory flick with a number of scenes with limbs getting chopped off, which I appreciated. I give it a 7 out of 10. And then finally, Heroes of the East and Dirty Ho. Heroes of the East. These two I don't really remember much. Let me look at my Dirty Ho. Oh, this is the one where a crook is cut on the face with a poisoned blade, and while he seeks a cure, the crook becomes righteous over time. This is one that's trying to blend comedy and martial arts, which I don't think it works. I gave it a 6 out of 10. A lot of these where you try to, I think, for after a while when they started to intersperse comedy into these things, I just don't think that works. Heroes of the East. Actually, Heroes of the East I enjoyed. A little bit more. I gave that a 7 out of 10. This one has non-stop battles. That's why I like it so much. As far as special features on this one, you have an audio commentary track, an appreciation of both films. Tony Raines does an appreciation on all these films practically, and then finally you've got actually a music disc. Great set. Even if you have a passing interest in martial arts, I think this Shaw Brothers Shawscope set is a must own. All right, guys, we're at 26 minutes. I think that's going to wrap up this update. And if you've seen any of these films or have any thoughts, feel free to leave a comment below. And I'll catch you soon. Thanks.